I never believed in ghosts until I got trapped in the Millbrook Library during the worst storm of the year. It started as a routine Tuesday afternoon. Jack had been asking about dinosaur books all week, and I'd promised him a trip to the library after his doctor's appointment. The storm warnings had been on the radio all morning, but I figured we had time for a quick visit. We were halfway across the parking lot when the first fat raindrops hit the asphalt. Within seconds, the sky opened up like a burst dam. I grabbed Jack's small hand and we ran, our sneakers splashing through puddles that seemed to form out of nowhere. "The children's section is downstairs," I told the librarian at the main desk, both of us dripping wet. She barely looked up from her computer. "Margaret's down there. She'll help you." The children's library felt different. Too warm, too quiet, with that particular smell of old books and something else. Something sweet and rotting. Margaret, a woman in her 60s, sat behind the circulation desk reading what looked like a romance novel. "Oh my," she said, looking up as we dripped water across her clean floor. Her smile seemed forced. "You two got caught in it, didn't you?" "Sorry about the mess," I said, wringing out my hoodie. "Don't you worry. Weather like this, you stay as long as you need." She gestured toward the seating area, but her eyes kept darting toward the back stacks. "I've got towels if you want." While Margaret bustled away, I surveyed our situation. Through the narrow windows, the parking lot was transforming into a lake. Rain hammered against the glass with increasing fury, and lightning illuminated the churning gray sky with violent flashes. We pulled off our soaked shoes and socks. Jack wiggled his toes and giggled, but the sound felt wrong in the oppressive silence. I used my hoodie to dry his hair, then we walked over to the reading area in our stocking feet. "Can I build with the Legos?" Jack asked. "Of course, buddy." Margaret returned with towels but no hot chocolate. Her hands were shaking. "Generator's been acting up," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Should hold, but..." She trailed off, staring at something behind us. I turned. Nothing there. That's when the lights flickered for the first time. Thunder rolled overhead, so deep I felt it in my bones. Jack looked up from his Legos, eyes wide with sudden fear. "Mama," he whispered, his voice different now. Strange. "There's another kid here." My blood went cold. "What?" He pointed toward the book stacks with a trembling finger. "Over there. A girl." I looked, but saw nothing. Just empty aisles and shadows that seemed to move when I wasn't looking directly at them. "Honey, I think it's just us." "No!" Jack screamed, loud enough to make me jump. "Look!" And then I saw her. A little girl stood at the far end of the stacks, perfectly motionless. Her back was to us, dark hair hanging in matted tangles past her shoulders. She wore what looked like a faded yellow dress, but something was wrong with the way she stood. Too straight, too rigid, like a mannequin. "Excuse me," I called, my voice cracking. "Are your parents here?" The girl didn't respond, didn't even breathe. I could see her from the side now, and her skin was the color of old milk, stretched too tight over sharp bones. I took a step closer. "Sweetie? Are you..." She turned her head. Just her head. It rotated 180 degrees with a wet grinding sound, vertebrae popping like bubble wrap. When she faced me, I saw what Jack had seen. Empty sockets. Black holes where eyes should be, so deep I felt like I was falling into them. Her mouth hung open, revealing teeth that were too sharp, too many, like broken glass in a gaping wound. "Where are my shoes?" she asked in a voice like static from a dead television channel. I grabbed Jack and backed away, my heart hammering. "Margaret!" I screamed. But Margaret was gone. Her romance novel lay open on the desk, pages fluttering in a breeze that shouldn't exist underground. Her chair was empty, still spinning slowly. The lights went out. Jack's scream pierced the darkness. I fumbled for my phone, hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. The flashlight beam cut through the black, sweeping across empty shelves. The girl was directly in front of us now. She stood 3 feet away, head still twisted backwards, those horrible socket eyes boring into us. Up close, I could see things crawling in her matted hair, small white things that might have been maggots. "Where are my shoes?" she repeated, tilting her head too far to one side. "Where are my shoes? Where are my shoes? Where?" Her mouth opened wider and wider, stretching like rubber, until her face was nothing but a black hole filled with glass teeth. The sound that came out wasn't words anymore. It was the sound of earth falling on a coffin, of a child's last breath, of 37 years of rage and desperate searching. I ran. Still carrying Jack, I sprinted toward the door, my socks sliding on the polished floor. I grabbed the handle and yanked. Nothing. The door was solid as a wall. "Help!" I screamed, pounding on the wood until my fists bled. "Someone help us!" Behind us, I heard a new sound. Like bare feet dragging across wet concrete, getting closer. "Where are my shoes?" The voice was right behind us now. "I need my shoes. The red ones with the buckles." A hand, cold as ice, with fingernails like razors, clawed at my shoulder. I felt skin tear, felt warm blood soak through my shirt. "Where are they? Where are they? Where?" "There!" I screamed, pointing to our abandoned sneakers by the Lego table. "Take them! Take them!" The scratching stopped. In the sudden silence, I turned my flashlight toward the reading area. The girl stood there now, examining our shoes with the intensity of a predator studying prey. She picked up one of Jack's small sneakers. What happened next will haunt me forever. She forced her foot inside. The shoe was far too small, but somehow her foot fitted anyway. I heard bones grinding, reshaping with wet popping sounds. Flesh tore. Dark liquid seeped through the canvas. She did the same with the other shoe, standing in a puddle of what looked like tar. For a moment she looked almost normal, just a little girl in a yellow dress and blood-soaked sneakers. She turned to us and smiled. Her teeth were normal now, white and even, but her eye sockets remained empty pits of darkness. "Thank you," she said, voice filled with terrible gratitude. "I've been looking for so long." The lights flickered back on. The door handle turned easily. I didn't wait. I ran, barefoot, carrying Jack up the stairs and out into the main library. Margaret stood at the circulation desk as if nothing had happened, helping an elderly man find a cookbook. "There you are," she said brightly, but her eyes were wrong, too wide, too knowing. "Power's back on." "The little girl," I panted. "Downstairs. There was..." "Little girl?" Margaret's smile never wavered. "Honey, there's no one else down there. Never has been." When the police searched later, they found no trace of any child. But they did find things that made them go pale. Jack's sneakers, sitting by the door, filled with something that wasn't blood. Something older. Something that had been rotting for decades. And tiny red shoes with silver buckles, placed carefully on a shelf like an offering. Detective Morrison showed me the red shoes later. The leather was cracked and faded, stained with substances the lab couldn't identify. "Belonged to Lucy Chen," he said. "Died here in 1987. Autistic girl, obsessed with these particular shoes. When they found her body, she was barefoot. Shoes were never located." He paused, studying the fresh bandages on my shoulder. "Funny thing, every few years, someone reports seeing a little girl in the children's section. Always ends the same way. Someone gets hurt. Someone loses their shoes." 3 weeks later, the infection set in. The doctors couldn't explain it. The scratches on my shoulder had healed clean, but something was growing beneath the scar tissue. Something that moved when I wasn't looking. The antibiotics didn't touch it. I researched everything I could find about the others. The woman who died 6 years ago, the teenager in 2003, the maintenance worker in 1995. All of them had visited the children's library. All of them had been scratched. All of them had died within months, their bodies consumed by infections that medical science couldn't explain or treat. Lucy Chen had been dead for 37 years, but she was still hungry, still searching. And now, I realized with growing horror, she had found a way to keep searching through others. The thing under my skin pulsed with its own heartbeat. Last night, Jack woke me up talking to someone in his room. When I asked him about it, he smiled, Lucy's smile, and said, "She's teaching me where to look for shoes, Mama." I found a drawing he'd made. 2 children in a library, one with empty black sockets for eyes. At the bottom, in his careful handwriting, "Me and Lucy forever." The Millbrook Library still operates normally. Children come and go, checking out books and playing with Legos. But if you visit on a stormy day, when the lights flicker and thunder rolls, you might hear small feet running through the stacks. And if you're very unlucky, you might meet a little girl who's been looking for her shoes for almost 4 decades. She's always so grateful when she finds a new pair. The infection spreads slowly, but it spreads. And when it finally claims you, you'll understand what I now know. Lucy Chen isn't just searching for shoes anymore. She's building an army,